Good evening, Bulldog fans. And yes, it's an evening. And no, we are not at Scott Field or the Junction. We're filming this at Humphrey Coliseum tonight, where right now the Bulldogs are at halftime, leading Long Beach State after a slow first half. Have come back to take the lead, 17th ranked Bulldogs for Ben Howland. Good crowd tonight here as well. But the town is full. I know Kathy and I tried to get into several restaurants tonight, had no luck. Settled for Salsaritas, highly recommended, very good. But that's a good idea that the crowd is going to show up for Senior Day tomorrow, and boy, does this senior class deserve it, because they're going for their 30th victory in 4 seasons.
That's true, David. And around 4:30 today, it kind of felt like a big game weekend, even though there is the 11 a.m. kickoff tomorrow. And you never know how crowds are going to respond to that. I mean, it is the last ball game of this career for Nick Fitzgerald, home game that is. And you're right, David. This is a senior class that's accomplished a lot. An opportunity to win 4 bowl games, could be the first MSU senior class to ever accomplish that. But first things first, it's about beating the Razorbacks.
And we also mentioned the senior class. I mean, guys like Gary Green and obviously Montez Sweat, John Abram, quite a few others, and a junior, too, we expect to turn pro as well. It's a shame that Jeffrey Simmons can't participate in junior day with the seniors, but, hey, that's the part of it there. All right, let's talk about the Razorbacks a little bit. We had a chance to look at them. We've seen them on TV a couple times. They've really struggled most of the season, but they can, when things go right, they can put some points on the board.
They can. They put up 31 against Alabama. They gave LSU a scare last week. This is not a team that's going to lay down. They're going to have to be beaten in a submission. I could see this as a ball game, though, where it's a tight ball game for a while, and then within a few minutes, State's up 3 touchdowns. I think State has an opportunity to really move the football against this Arkansas defense. They struggled last year, a little bit of an Alabama hangover. I think State was so emotionally invested in that ball game last year, they kind of sleptwalked through the first 3 quarters of that ball game.
And you had those 2 really fluke touchdowns that Arkansas took advantage of.
Well, honestly, you could probably say 3, because you had the ball that Trey Brown kicked, you had the muff punt, and you had Nick Gibson fumble the ball in end zone. So Mississippi State gifted them 3 scores. I expect the Bulldogs to be less than charitable this weekend. And it's really about playing with emotions in check. I visited with Rocky Fulkerson last night. It's one thing he mentions, he said about Senior Day, is you want to win so badly. Sometimes your emotion gets the better of you. It's important to kind of go out there and play within yourself and not let the emotions of the day take over.
And if we've ever seen that effect, 2015 was just a textbook case. That Bulldog team was in no way ready to play that game, even allowing for the opponent. They were so emotionally wrapped up in Dak Prescott's final game. So you really have to monitor this. And this is another test for Coach Jordan Moorhead. You know, he's been a head coach before, but not at this level, and never had to manage a Senior Day before. But this is a heady group of seniors handling it. They've handled so much in their careers. I think they'll be ready for it. Briefly getting back to Arkansas, it seems like it must be written in the 11th commandment somewhere that the Razorbacks will have a tight end who can catch the ball and do something with it. But realistically, if State can control them and the defense play their game, they should be able to take control and do some things.
Yeah, you would think so. And State needs to get out of the gate early. I think this is a ball game, too, where defensively Arkansas shouldn't be able to run with State, and you think the State defense should have an opportunity to kind of hold them down a bit. If it's a low-scoring ball game, it might actually favor the Razorbacks. So I think State needs to get out early, have some good things happen, and let that defense kind of take over. It's a quick turnaround for the Bulldogs, too. As soon as they get done with the ball game, they'll be packing a truck for Oxford.
Well, also, Arkansas has a new head coach, a new defensive coordinator. They're not the same Razorback. They've had a really major transition from Brett Bielema's system of power running. But State, by the same token, has a large new staff as well. So kind of get a measure of 2 first-time SEC coaches tomorrow. All right, let's turn quickly to the recruiting topic. What do you know about recruiting visits for tomorrow here in the last home game?
Well, a couple of official visitors on campus. Kelly Bryant, former Clemson quarterback.
I think I've heard of him.
You have heard of him. He's very accomplished. You know, he's a guy that elected to transfer out, taking advantage of the 4-game redshirt rule this year, looking for greener pastures. He will be a one-and-done type guy. And then Javon Payton's the guy that's on campus this weekend, former Ole Miss signee. Deciding between Tennessee and Mississippi State. We think State's in a good position there, but he will take his visits and make a decision sometime in early December. And these are 2 guys who can come in and bring an instant impact to this offense. And so these are guys that we'll have full updates on as we get through the weekend, and Bulldog fans should keep it tuned to Gene Spates 247.
I shouldn't ask you what the odds are. I'm going to ask you what the odds are. What do you think about the Bryant situation?
I think it's still up for grabs, and I think he's going to plan 2 more visits after this. He'll take all 5 official visits and announce a decision December 4th. State's in the mix there. I liked where Arkansas sits, but one of the things that I hear privately is he doesn't want to be part of a rebuild. He wants to go into a situation that's ready to win. And Mississippi State's certainly in that position.
Bulldogs, health-wise, we don't at this point. It looks like Jaquarius Landry's probably could play tomorrow. Kylan Hill, of course, has been day-to-day, but, hey, he played day-to-day the last 2 games, so it looks like he'll be fine. I think State, first Senior Day, should be in good physical condition for 11 o'clock kickoff.
What we're told is the only player that's officially out is Ryan Cole, who had season-ending surgery a few weeks back, and so everybody else that played last week is expected to play. Leo Lewis out last week with an illness. Joe Moorhead and Tim Lukabu both said he is ready to go and will be available to play. How much he plays kind of remains to be seen. Willie Gay did a good job last weekend. If Leo's not 100%, they probably save a few snaps with him, but yeah, we do expect him to be available.
Gut feeling on an 11 o'clock kickoff. There's a school of thought that it's better for the visiting team because they get in and get out. I tend to think, though, that as the season goes on, these early kickoffs favor the home team.
Well, Derek Sherrod would agree with you. He and I had a long discussion about this a year ago, and he says, when you've got to have the abbreviated pregame type ritual, it's better to be in a place where the surroundings are somewhat familiar to you. And so this is the first 11 a.m. home kickoff for Mississippi State. Arkansas has kicked off at 11 a.m. 5 times this year, so they ought to have their routine down pat. So I don't think it'll affect them in that respect very much. But I think sometimes we media folks look for things and anything to really talk about. But the bottom line is Mississippi State is the better football team. If they go out and play within themselves, they should win the ballgame handily.
So, tomorrow, Mississippi State concludes the home season hosting the Arkansas Razorbacks at 11 o'clock, ESPN telecast. But why watch on TV? Come show up. It's your last home game. And, of course, the Bulldogs are bowl eligible. The win tomorrow, we're assuming, obviously, puts the Bulldogs in better shape. We'll be talking more about bowl situations with Mike Nemeth and others as things go on. People more familiar with how the bowl situation is stacking up this very interesting year because it may be some history because there's a very good chance now the SEC could put 4 teams into the New Year's Six playoff, which would open the door to a very nice Florida destination if the Bulldogs can take care of business. We'll also talk about visitors in our post-game wrap-up tomorrow. Any updates heading into the Egg Bowl? By the way, we understand the 2-for-1 tickets or 1-for-1 tickets situations being offered by the home team up there. So, hey, jump on it. Sounds like a good bargain, at least. And we'll have some information. And I believe you'll have some information coming out more in public this week. Your long interviews, you did have a response from the Southeastern Conference, and I think you're saving that for a Monday story to give it a fair chance to go another weekend about SEC officiating, a very hot topic on fans' minds everywhere.
No doubt about it. And, here's the thing. Everybody has these ideas, and every fan base in the country thinks that their team gets a short end of the stick. And I can tell you that through my research, I don't think that's the case. Everybody can't be getting the proverbial screws turned to them, and I think that'll prove to be the case long term.
Sounds like the makings of another bestseller. But tomorrow, 11 o'clock kickoff, weather looks good. It'll be chilly by the time we get there. Certainly I'll be there by 7:30, so it's still in the 30s at that point. But it'll be in the 60s in the afternoon. Great conditions. Come out, enjoy, and celebrate a senior class that has given Mississippi State so much to remember under both one set of coaches and now the new coach, Joe Moorhead. Come out and just give them a cheer for all they've done for you because they're playing for you, they're playing for Mississippi, and they're playing in honor of the United States military tomorrow in their special gray uniforms, and I think the helmets are spectacular.
And speaking of the helmets, David, they'll be up for auction on Monday.
I'm glad you put that up. Yeah. Starting Monday at hailstate.com. Check it out. There will be a means to bid and get an auction in on these helmets. I don't know what they're going for, but boy, it'll be well worth it, and can you think of a better possible Christmas present to give your favorite Bulldog fan to really shock them with one of these helmets under the tree on Christmas morning as the Bulldogs will be preparing by then for their bowl game. So from Humphrey Coliseum in advance of tomorrow's game for Steve Robertson and our staff at 24/7, this is David Murray.